Hello, Gooners, and welcome back to Arsenal Daily News, where we bring you the latest and most crucial updates from the Emirates Stadium. I'm your host, and today we got some absolutely massive developments that every Arsenal supporter needs to hear about. We're going to be covering two major stories that are dominating the headlines right now, and trust me, you'll want to stick around for every single detail, because both of these situations could have huge implications for Arsenal's season and future. First up, we got breaking news on Nwaneri's future. The 18-year-old wonder kid has been at the center of intense speculation, with loan offers coming in and Chelsea still lurking in the background hoping to pounce. But what does Nwaneri himself actually want? We got exclusive insights into his thinking, and the answer might surprise you. This is a story about ambition, patience, and a young player's determination to be part of something special at Arsenal. Fabrizio Romano and other top sources have been tracking the situation closely, and we're going to break down every angle for you. Then, we're diving deep into the Guéhi situation that has been causing serious concern among Arsenal fans. The summer signing has been sitting on the bench for the last 4 Premier League games, and people are asking questions. But here's the thing. Mikel Arteta has revealed crucial information that completely changes how we should view the situation. The numbers tell a fascinating story that most people have completely missed, and once you understand the full context, everything makes sense. These are two stories that tell us so much about how Arsenal are managing their squad, how they're planning for the future, and how Mikel Arteta is navigating the pressures of a genuine title challenge. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's break down everything you need to know about Nwaneri's decision and what's really going on with Guéhi. This is Arsenal Daily News, and we're getting started right now. Arsenal Daily News. Nwaneri's future decision. Hello, Gooners, and welcome back to Arsenal Daily News. Today we have got some really interesting developments regarding one of our most exciting young talents, Nwaneri. This is a story that has been brewing for weeks now, and we finally have some clarity on what the 18-year-old midfielder is thinking about his future. So let us dive deep into this situation, because it tells us a lot about the mentality of this young player and what Arsenal are planning for him. The current situation. Let me start by painting the picture of where we are right now with Nwaneri. This is a player who signed a new long-term contract at the Emirates Stadium just last summer. Everyone at the club, from the coaching staff to the fans, views him as the future of Arsenal Football Club. The talent is undeniable. The potential is enormous. But here's the problem that has been causing all the discussion lately. Nwaneri has been given just 446 minutes of game time this season. Let that sink in for a moment. 446 minutes across all competitions. Even more concerning for some people is that he has not started a single game in the Premier League. Not one. For a player of his talent and potential, this lack of playing time has raised eyebrows and sparked debates among fans and pundits alike. The situation got even more noticeable recently when Nwaneri was left out of the matchday squad entirely for our fixtures against Bournemouth and Aston Villa. When a young player is not even making the bench, people start asking questions. Is he injured? Is there a problem behind the scenes? Or is it simply that Mikel Arteta has too many options and cannot fit everyone in? The loan talk. Given this lack of playing time, it was only natural that people started suggesting a loan move might be the best option for Nwaneri's development. This is a path that many young Arsenal players have taken over the years. Go out, get regular first-team football, develop your game, and come back stronger. It is a proven method for player development. The loan rumors really picked up steam in recent weeks. And it was not just speculation from journalists either. There were actual clubs showing concrete interest in taking Nwaneri on loan for the second half of the season. One club in particular has emerged as a serious suitor, and that is Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth's interest in Nwaneri is directly connected to another transfer story that is happening right now. According to the article, Bournemouth are about to bid farewell to Antoine Semenyo, who is expected to join Manchester City. Semenyo has been a key player for Bournemouth this season, and his departure would leave a significant gap in their squad. The Cherries see Nwaneri as the perfect player to fill that void, even if it is just on a temporary loan deal. This would not be a bad move for Nwaneri on paper. Bournemouth are a Premier League club, so he would be getting top-flight experience. They play attractive football under their manager, and he would likely be guaranteed regular starts. For a young player desperate for minutes, it sounds like an ideal scenario. Chelsea's continued interest, but the loan situation is not the only thing we need to talk about. There's also the matter of Chelsea's persistent interest in Nwaneri. According to reports mentioned in the article, Chelsea remained keen on signing the teenager on a permanent deal. This is not new interest either. The article reveals that Chelsea actually tried to get Nwaneri in the summer transfer window. What stopped that move from happening? It was Nwaneri's decision to extend his contract at Arsenal. By signing that new long-term deal, he effectively shut down any possibility of Chelsea swooping in. But just because he signed a new contract does not mean Chelsea have given up. They are still monitoring the situation, still interested, still hoping that maybe, just maybe, they could convince him to make the move across London. Now, for Arsenal fans, this should be a concern but not a panic situation. Chelsea have been very aggressive in the transfer market when it comes to young English talent. They have shown they're willing to pay big money and offer attractive terms. But the key thing here is that Nwaneri has already chosen Arsenal once by signing that extension. The question is whether his lack of playing time might change his mind. What Nwaneri wants. So here is where we get to the really important part of this story. What does Ethan Nwaneri himself actually want? Because at the end of the day, that is what matters most. A player's own ambitions and desires will always be the deciding factor in these situations. According to The Independent, who have been following this story closely, people close to Nwaneri view any move away from the Emirates as unlikely. Let me repeat that because it is crucial. Unlikely. Not impossible, but unlikely. The people who know him best, who speak to him regularly, who understand his thinking, they believe he is going to stay at Arsenal. But why would he want to stay when he is barely playing? This is where it gets really interesting and shows the maturity of this young player. The article states that the 18-year-old feels he can learn more as part of a serious title challenge, especially if Arsenal win, and is content to be patient and assess the situation at the end of the season. Think about what that tells us. Nwaneri is not panicking. He is not demanding immediate playing time. He is not throwing his toys out the pram like some young players might. Instead, he is taking a long-term view. He understands that being part of a squad that is challenging for the Premier League title is valuable experience in itself. He is training every day with world-class players. He is learning from Mikel Arteta, one of the best tactical minds in football. He is absorbing everything like a sponge. And here is the key phrase. He is content to be patient and assess the situation at the end of the season. Not in January. Not right now. At the end of the season. That tells me this is a young man who understands that his development is a marathon, not a sprint. He is willing to sacrifice some playing time now for the potential reward of being part of something special at Arsenal. Arsenal's perspective. Now let us look at this from Arsenal's point of view, because that is equally important. What does the club think about all of this? According to the article, Arsenal are more than aware of Nwaneri's lack of game time this season. They are not blind to the situation. They know that just 3 starts in all competitions in the first half of the campaign is simply not good enough for a player of his talent. The article describes Nwaneri as a special talent. That is Arsenal's own assessment. They know what they have got. They know his potential. And they are determined not to let him slip away. The report makes it crystal clear that Arsenal are completely against selling him. Not interested. Not happening. Nwaneri is not for sale at any price. But Arsenal also understand that the youngster needs game time. You cannot develop a player by keeping him on the bench week after week. So what is the solution? The article claims that Arsenal want to ensure that Nwaneri can get regular game time. That opens the door for a loan move, at least in theory. However, and this is a big however, it looks like the teenager's preference is to stay. And the article's author believes he will get his wish. So even though Arsenal might be open to a loan if Nwaneri wanted it, they are not going to push him out the door. If he wants to stay and fight for his place, they will support that decision. Why this matters for Arsenal season. Let me take a moment to explain why this whole situation is so significant for Arsenal season. We are in a genuine title race right now. Every decision Arteta makes about squad management could be the difference between winning the league and falling short. Having depth in the squad is absolutely crucial, especially when you are competing on multiple fronts. Nwaneri might not be starting every week, but his presence in the squad is valuable. He can come off the bench and change games. He can start in cup competitions to keep other players fresh. And if, heaven forbid, we pick up injuries to key midfielders, suddenly Nwaneri could find himself thrust into a much bigger role. There's also the psychological aspect to consider. Keeping Nwaneri at the club sends a message to other young players in the academy. It says that Arsenal values their homegrown talent. It says that if you are good enough and patient enough, you will get your chance. That is important for the long-term culture at the club. The smart play. From my perspective as someone who watches this team week in and week out, I think Nwaneri is making the smart play here. Yes, he could go out on loan and play every week for Bournemouth or another club. He would get experience. He would get confidence. He would develop his game. All of that is true, but there is something to be said for staying in an elite environment. Training with the likes of Martin Odegaard, Declan Rice, and Bukayo Saka every single day is going to make you better. Learning Arteta's tactical systems inside and out is going to make you better. Being around winners and competitors is going to make you better. And let's be honest, if Arsenal win the Premier League this season, even if Nwaneri has only played a small role, that winner's medal is going to be special. Being part of that squad, being part of that achievement, that is something he will remember for the rest of his career. What happens next? So, where do we go from here? Based on everything in this article, it seems pretty clear that Nwaneri is going to stay at Arsenal for the rest of the season. Bournemouth might be interested, Chelsea might be lurking, but the player wants to stay and Arsenal want to keep him. That is a recipe for him staying put. The January transfer window is open now, and it will close at the end of the month. Unless something dramatic changes in the next few weeks, I expect Nwaneri to still be an Arsenal player when that window slams shut. But what about the summer? That is when things could get interesting. The article mentions that Nwaneri is content to assess the situation at the end of the season. That assessment would depend on several factors. How much playing time has he gotten in the second half of the season? Has Arsenal won the league? What role does Arteta see for him next season? Will there be departures that open up more opportunities? These are all questions that will need to be answered. But for now, for today, the message is clear. Ethan Nwaneri is staying at Arsenal. He believes in the project. He believes in himself. And he is willing to be patient for his opportunity. Final thoughts. I want to close by saying that I really respect Nwaneri's approach to this situation. In modern football, we see so many young players who want everything right now. They want to start every game immediately. They want to be the star. They want the spotlight. And when they do not get it, they kick up a fuss and force a move. Nwaneri is showing maturity beyond his 18 years. He is thinking long-term. He is putting the team first. He is trusting the process. These are qualities that will serve him well throughout his career, regardless of whether that career is spent at Arsenal or elsewhere. For Arsenal fans, this should be encouraging news. It shows that we have not just signed a talented player, but a smart one, a patient one, a team player. Those are the kinds of characters you want in your squad when you're trying to win major trophies. The road ahead for Nwaneri will not be easy. Competition for places at Arsenal is fierce. But if he keeps working hard, keeps improving, and waits for his moment, I have no doubt that moment will come. And when it does, he will be ready. That is all for today's Arsenal Daily News. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Come on, you Gunners. Arsenal Daily News. The Eberechi situation. What Mikel Arteta wants you to know. Hello, Gooners, and welcome back to Arsenal Daily News. Today we are diving deep into a situation that has been causing quite a bit of concern among Arsenal fans in recent weeks. We are talking about Eberechi and his lack of playing time. But before you start worrying too much, Mikel Arteta has some crucial information that completely changes the narrative around this situation. Let me start by setting the scene here. Eberechi has been sitting on the bench as an unused substitute for Arsenal's last 4 Premier League games. Now, for a player who cost Arsenal a significant fee in the summer and who scored an absolutely unforgettable hat-trick against Tottenham in the North London derby back in November, this seems really concerning on the surface. Fans are naturally asking questions. They are wondering what is going on. They are questioning whether there is a problem between the player and the manager. Some are even worried that this big money summer signing might already be struggling to adapt to life at Arsenal. But here is where things get really interesting. Mikel Arteta recently sat down for an exclusive interview with Sky Sports ahead of Arsenal's massive clash with Liverpool, and when he was asked about ease, he revealed something that most people have completely overlooked. And honestly, once you understand this context, the entire situation looks completely different. So let me break down exactly what is happening with Eberechi Eze at Arsenal right now, and more importantly, why Mikel Arteta is not concerned at all. In fact, he believes Eze is actually ahead of schedule. First, let me give you the facts that have been worrying supporters. Since that incredible hat-trick performance against Tottenham in November, Eberechi Eze has played just 203 Premier League minutes. That is not a lot of football at all. For the last 4 Premier League matches, he has been sitting on the bench without even coming on as a substitute. For a player of his quality, and for someone who made such a spectacular impact in the North London derby, this absence from the pitch has been startling to many people watching from the outside. Now imagine you are a fan who watched Eze tear Tottenham apart in November. You saw him score 3 goals in one of the most important matches of the season. You saw him absolutely dominate that game. And then suddenly he is not playing. He is not even getting minutes off the bench. Naturally, you would start to wonder what is going on. Is he injured? Has he fallen out with the manager? Is he not performing well in training? These are all logical questions that supporters have been asking. But here is what Mikel Arteta wants everyone to understand. And this is the crucial detail that changes everything about how we should view this situation. During that Sky Sports interview, Arteta made a statement that initially sounds almost unbelievable. He said, and I am paraphrasing here, that Eberechi Eze has played more games with Arsenal now than he has ever played before January in his entire career. Let that sink in for a moment. Despite missing the last 4 Premier League fixtures, despite sitting on the bench as an unused substitute, despite all the concern from supporters, Eze has actually played more matches by this point in the season than he ever has before. Now, when Arteta first said this, it seemed hard to believe, but the numbers tell us that this claim is absolutely accurate. The article provides us with some fascinating data that really puts this whole situation into perspective. Let me walk you through Eberechi Eze's playing time in previous seasons at Crystal Palace, because this is where the context becomes crystal clear. Looking back at the 2022 to 2023 season, Eze had played a certain number of matches by Christmas. Then in the 2023 to 2024 season, he had played a similar amount. But this season at Arsenal, the number of matches he has played before Christmas is significantly higher than in those previous years. The graphic that accompanies the article shows this comparison very clearly, and the difference is quite dramatic. So what does this tell us? It tells us that Eberechi Eze is actually being used more at Arsenal than he was at Crystal Palace during the first half of the season. He is getting more game time overall. He is being integrated into the squad and being trusted with important minutes. The recent absence from the starting 11 and from substitute appearances is not the full story. It is just one chapter in a much bigger picture. Now let me explain why this matters so much. Eberechi Eze has had a history of injuries throughout his career. Anyone who followed him at Crystal Palace knows that managing his fitness has always been a key consideration. He is an incredibly talented player, but keeping him healthy and available has been a challenge. So when Mikel Arteta and his medical team look at Eze's workload this season, they see a player who has already played more football than ever before by this stage of the campaign. They see someone who is ahead of schedule in terms of matches played and minutes accumulated. This is intelligent squad management. This is not a case of Eze being dropped or falling out of favor. This is a case of Arsenal protecting an important asset and making sure he stays fit and fresh for the remainder of the season. Remember, we are only in early January. There is still a huge amount of football to be played. The Premier League title race is heating up. The Champions League knockout stages are coming. The FA Cup is underway. Arsenal need Eberechi Eze to be fit and available for all of these crucial matches in the second half of the season. Let me put this another way. If Arsenal had continued playing Ease in every single match without rotation, and then he picked up an injury in January or February because of the workload, fans would be absolutely furious. They would be asking why the medical team and coaching staff did not manage his minutes better. They would be pointing to his injury history and saying that Arsenal should have been more careful. So in many ways, what we are seeing now is Arteta and his team learning from the past and being proactive rather than reactive. But I want to be clear about something here. Just because the numbers support Arteta's approach does not mean that Eberechi Eze himself is necessarily happy about the situation. And Arteta acknowledges this in his interview with Sky Sports. He talks about how some players naturally find rotation difficult. And that makes complete sense, right? These are elite athletes who want to play every single match. They are competitors. They have confidence in their abilities. When they are sitting on the bench, it is frustrating for them, even if they understand the logic behind it. What is really interesting, though, is how Arteta deals with these situations. He explained his philosophy during the interview, and I think this gives us a real insight into his management style. Arteta said that if players have any doubts about their role or their playing time, he has to give them clarity. He needs to paint the context for them. He needs to explain the reason why they are at the club and the way they are contributing to the team's success. This is really important man management. Arteta is not just leaving players in the dark, wondering why they are not playing. He is communicating with them. He is being transparent. He is explaining his decisions and the thinking behind the rotation policy. And according to Arteta himself, both Eberechi Eze and fellow summer signing Noni Madueke are handling the situation incredibly well. Let me talk about Noni Madueke for a moment because he is in a similar position to Eze. Madueke also joined Arsenal in the summer. He is also a talented attacking player who wants to play every match. And he is also having to deal with rotation and competition for places. The fact that Arteta mentions both players together suggests that he is managing them in a similar way, with clear communication and a long-term vision for how they fit into the squad. Arteta described both Eze and Madueke as being incredibly good to handle and to manage, and the reason he gave is really telling. He said they want it so badly. These players are desperate to play. They are hungry. They are motivated. They are not content to just sit on the bench and collect their wages. They want to be out there on the pitch making a difference. And while that desire can sometimes create challenges in terms of keeping players happy when they are rotated, it is ultimately a positive thing. It means Arsenal have competitive, driven players who are pushing each other to improve. Now, let me address something that I think is really important here. The article mentions that from the outside looking in, many supporters think Eze has the right to question his lack of game time. And I understand that perspective. When you see a player's qualities sitting on the bench, especially after that hat trick against Tottenham, it does seem strange. But what we have to remember is that we do not see everything that happens behind the scenes. We do not see the training sessions. We do not see the medical data. We do not see the conversations between Arteta and his players. We do not know what the long-term plan is for each individual player. All we see is the 90 minutes on match day, and that is only a small part of the bigger picture. So while it might seem like E should be playing more, Arteta and his coaching staff have access to information that we simply do not have. They can see his training performances. They can monitor his physical condition. They can assess whether he is ready for another start or whether he needs more rest. Let me also talk about the competition for places at Arsenal, because this is a factor that sometimes gets overlooked. Arsenal have built a really strong squad. They have depth in attacking positions. When everyone is fit, Arteta has genuine options and genuine decisions to make. Players like Martin Odegaard, Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli, Leandro Trossard, and others are all competing for spots in the starting 11. And now with Eze and Madueke added to the mix, the competition has only intensified. This is actually a good problem to have. It means Arsenal can rotate players without a significant drop in quality. It means they can keep players fresh throughout a long and demanding season. It means they have options if injuries occur. But it also means that talented players like Eberechi Eze will sometimes have to sit on the bench, even when they're fit and ready to play. That is just the reality of being at a big club with title ambitions. The article raises an interesting question for fans to consider. It asks whether Eberechi will be a starter at Arsenal by the end of the 2025 to 2026 season. And I think this is a fascinating question because it highlights the long-term thinking that is required here. We are not just talking about the next few weeks or the next few months. We are talking about where Ease fits into Arsenal's plans over the course of an entire season and potentially beyond. My sense is that Arteta sees Ease as an important player for Arsenal's future. The hat trick against Tottenham showed what he is capable of when everything clicks. That performance was not a fluke. It was a demonstration of his quality, his technical ability, his finishing, and his understanding of the game. But integrating a new player into a team that is challenging for the Premier League title is not always straightforward. It takes time. It requires patience. And it demands careful management of expectations and workload. What we are seeing right now with Eberechi is the integration phase. He is learning how Arteta wants him to play. He is adapting to the intensity and demands of playing for Arsenal. He is building relationships with his teammates. And crucially, he is being managed carefully to ensure he stays fit and available for the long term. The recent spell on the bench is just one part of that process. It does not define his Arsenal career. It does not mean he is not valued by the club. And it certainly does not mean that he will not have a major role to play in the second half of the season. Looking ahead, I think we can expect to see more of Eberechi in the coming weeks and months. Arsenal have a packed fixture schedule. They have big matches coming up. They need all of their best players fit and ready to contribute. And Ease is definitely one of those players. The fact that he has been rested recently might actually mean that he is being saved for these important upcoming fixtures. Arteta might be planning to unleash him when the team needs him most. The article ends on a positive note, suggesting that there is hope among fans that the desire to play will translate into excellent form once Ease gets more of a platform to shine. And I completely agree with that sentiment. When Ease does get his next opportunity, whether that is as a starter or as a substitute, he will be desperate to make an impact. He will want to remind everyone of what he can do. And if he can recapture the form he showed against Tottenham, Arsenal will have a really special player on their hands. So to wrap this all up, the situation with Eberechi is not as concerning as it might appear on the surface. Yes, he has been on the bench for the last 4 Premier League games. Yes, he has only played 203 minutes since his hat trick in November. But the crucial context that Mikel Arteta wants everyone to understand is that Ease has already played more matches this season than he ever has before by this point in the campaign. He is ahead of schedule, not behind it. This is smart squad management from Arsenal. This is protecting an important player with an injury history. This is ensuring that Ease is fit and fresh for the remainder of what could be a historic season for club. And based on Arteta's comments, the player himself is handling the situation well, showing the desire and hunger that you want to see from your players. So my message to Arsenal fans is this: do not panic about Eberechi. Trust the process. Trust Mikel Arteta's management. And be patient. The best is yet to come from this talented player. When he gets his next chance, I have a feeling he is going to grab it with both hands. That is all for today's Arsenal Daily News. If you found this analysis helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more Arsenal content every single day. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Ease situation. Do you agree with Arteta's approach? Are you confident that Ease will become a key player for Arsenal? I would love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, Gooners, keep the faith and come on you Gunners.